Hi, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching doing the ES Trade Review for August 26, 2013. Man, it was quite a day, and the theme of today's review is Adapt or Die. So just a quick disclaimer, nothing in this video should be taken as a trading recommendation. That goes for my blog and my Twitter stream as well. Trading futures is very aggressive. You can lose your entire investment. You should consult with a trading professional or investment professional prior to deciding to trade futures. This particular video and all the things that I blog about were for educational purposes only. Okay, so we got through the fun stuff. Let's get to the day. The last couple of weeks, really the whole month of August, has been very challenging because the market has been shifting gears in a very erratic way, as if someone kind of just learning to drive a manual vehicle. It's kind of surging and stalling and coughing and sputtering and then exploding forward and slamming to a stop. And it's been a challenge. I mean, it's been a challenge all the way around. And so what I wanted to focus on is how we adapt to those challenges as traders. The Achilles heel in trading the ES, unlike so many other markets, is that it does not trade in a straight line or in a smooth trend curve. It has, it coughs, it spits, and it rotates, and it just tends not to go straight up. Oil can go straight up, gold can go straight up or down. The euro can have these giant directional moves, and even if you're a bit of a chaser, as long as you chase at the right points, you can actually end up making money occasionally. But ES is a different story. It almost always smokes the chasers. It's just so hard to be a momentum trader and then adapting your trading style. So what will happen to so many traders and people that I coach or end up asking me for help, right, is oftentimes the story is, well, I bought these CDs, or I read this book, or I went to a trading school and they taught me this technique. And usually involves using some kind of trailing indicator like stochastics or MACD or moving averages. And I repeatedly say this to clients, but the problem with those, particularly on short time frames, is that they're lagging indicators. Okay, they can only tell you what happened, and they don't do a very good job of telling you what's going to happen in a very specific way. And the problem with trading futures is it's a very specific business. Generally, traders are using leverage when they're trading. It moves quickly and what can seem erratically, and you have to be willing to take the other side of the trade when it's moving in the opposite direction that you want to take the trade to, meaning you almost have to be a contra trader in order to trade it successfully. Very, very difficult thing to do almost all the way around, okay, because mentally it's just hard to make that shift. On top of that, it changes the way in which it's trading, not as often as it has been, but in recent weeks it has. One of the big changes, just to isolate a few, is first of all, we've gone from very narrow ranges with almost no rotation. That was kind of in the beginning, second week of the month, where the rotations, you were doing well just to get a 2-point rotation off of the zone. We moved from that last week to, we got some pretty good movement off of news. It traded kind of like it does the race of the year. And then we kind of got to the Fed day. Now, Fed days have been pretty benign over the last year. They released the Fed notes, and there's really been no reaction. You actually have to go back. I went back almost 2 years to find any kind of increase in volatility and increase in range based on the Fed notes. And so a lot of people got caught off guard, and we had this massive move. The original move was down, and then we had this massive rotation up for 20 points, and then it was countered within, literally within the hour with a 20-point move to the downside. So the first problem that created is, in your mind is like, oh my gosh, I've gone from I can barely make 2 points on a trade or 5 points on a trade to I just had a 20-point rotation. And for an undisciplined trader, what happened in that move is they'd short and then they'd cover, or they'd go long and then they'd sell out, and then they go, well, it's moved another 5 points, I'll take another shot at it. And then they get another 1 point or 2 point or 3 point stop out. And then they go, oh, well, it's going up, I'll go long. And then it reverses on them just as quickly. And this happens to so many traders out there. and they're like, what the hell just happened, right? And that's totally understandable, because you know why? What happened there was that you had everyone in the world was trading off that news, and it created a shift where a bunch of apparently very large funds wanted out. Whoever that was, they, as we referred to them, wanted out, and they got out by running you over. But prior to that, a large group obviously wanted in, and it feels very manipulated. As E-mini Wizard would refer to it, the they, whoever they are, the quiet hand that moves the market, really smoked a lot of traders that day. And then, you know, what traders want to do is like, okay, well, we closed the low, we're 10 points lower overnight. You know, I'm going to short the first move up that we have. And then you get smoked because it's so hard to change gears. I really didn't hear anyone, I heard a few, but I didn't hear anyone talking about, it's 13, and a shout out to my friend Ash, because he did say he was going to go long at 13.31, and my friend Ben, who said that as well. You know, my friend Ash said, I'm going long at 13.31, but most people were like, I can see this 16.31, but I saw so many tweets talking about 16.18 and 16.10 that evening, right? And that I'm going to really smash this first gap up. That whole movement crushes traders, and then we kind of get the slow grind up on Thursday and Friday, where it's just really a relentless move higher. And then we get in today, and again we had a move up in the overnight session, and that continued where we went back and retested those highs during the day session, and in a slow grinding fashion that can just really wear down a trader, and it can really rack up a ton of losses over a very small period of time. So how do we avoid that as traders? Well, first of all, you have a stop loss limit on the day that you absolutely respect. There's no question in your mind, you know you can take that. If you can't do that, right, then you can't ever trust yourself as a trader to keep yourself safe. And it really creates a very bad psychological environment for you to trade in. So that's number one, and it's easier said than done. You have to have the discipline to absolutely stop when you take your loss, okay, and just walk away from the monitor for the day. You have to have a stop set up for the week so that you don't get crushed on a weekly basis as well. It happens all the time where, well, I took a day stop, but I had stopped day after day after day, and now I've lost, a significant portion of my account in a week because I misread the market, the volatility expanded, and the range expanded. You have to have both intraday stops, daily stops, and weekly stops, and really monthly stops. You have to be willing to walk away. If you can't walk away, you're screwed in this business. That's all there is to it. It's like a business deal. If you can't walk away from it, you have no negotiating power. So the next thing that comes up is, do you actually have an edge? A lot of traders will go to, like I said, a trading school. They'll see a trading system that has worked for a period of time, or they'll get involved with someone who isn't being completely honest and will only post their winning trades, and they won't ever talk about their losing trades, and that can really suck as well. How do I combat that, if at all? The way I combat that, or how I try to present a fair playing field to the people who follow me, is I publish my zones prior to market open, and I publish the results in the evening as you're watching right now. Okay, and if the person you're following isn't willing to give you real-time data, even if you have to buy it, right? Let's say they charge for their services, fine, pay them for their services, but take detailed records of their drawdowns, how far the trade's moved in their favor, and also look between what they're saying, what they're doing, okay, and whether the system calls for taking a trade. For example, excellent point. My trading rules call for me to take a trade somewhere in the zone on the first touch, a 2-point to 3-point stop behind the back of the zone, and a target of generally 2 points for either a scale or a complete exit. Okay, and again, that depends on your individual strategy. Okay, those are my general rules. For the most part, they work. There are times when I won't take that trade, and I'll generally call it out. But if you look at the majority of my trades, particularly in the morning, and you followed that set of rules, you'll see, we open down to the white zone. Buyers clearly establish control right here, right? And if you took the trade long off the white zone, you nail 2 points. The next zone up, first time into the zone. And again, I moved this zone, by the way, in the afternoon. I moved this zone down to 65, 67 and I was really debating overnight. I couldn't figure out where I wanted to put it, and I went for further out just to be on the safer side. When I saw us pause right here at the 65, it made sense to move the zone down to 65, 67. Either way, no matter where you took the trade, this zone held just fine. So you can see just from a small litmus test, if you go and look every day, does the trade work when there's stops? Does the stop work appropriately? Do the setups work appropriately? Okay, and then does the person who has the edge, they also have a model, which is how I enter and how I exit. Do they have a model that'll actually let you execute that edge, right? And so those are all questions that you should be asking for anyone that you're following in terms of trading, okay? And it's never too easy. For example, I do post the zones, but in order to learn how to do the zones, it takes a bit of work, right? And on top of that, the majority of the work that you do should at the minimum be balanced between your psychological edge and how you're approaching the market and what you're actually doing relative to your trade plan and what your trade plan calls for, okay? Because fear dominates in trading. There's no question about it. People act out of fear. It's very hard to control. How do you learn to control it? Well, when I work with my clients, we use spreadsheets and we keep all kinds of statistics. We keep one set of statistics for the trades we did do and how those trades looked, and we can collect that data over time, and we can get a very clear idea of what works and what doesn't work and how the stops are working. In other words, if I did get stopped, how far did it actually go against me? If I did make money, how far did it actually go in my favor? All of those things we look at. And then we also look at the trades that we should have taken. For example, today, I changed the rules. I moved my stop down because I could not get a cover from my 66 short for 2 points. It went and bid, but I never got filled. I moved my stop back to break even. Had I followed my rules simply say leave the stop at 2 points. Even from the zone where I adjusted it down, that meant that my stop at worst should have been at 1669, right? Because I did that, I gave up. My plan was to cover 3/4 and leave for a trailer because I had a feeling we could roll over to the downside. When I see tick divergence, which occurred right here, and I called out, that often marks highs and lows for the day. That's not a 100% rule, but it happens often. So I'll go back in and I'll mark both what my results were in real time on my spreadsheet, but then I'll also mark what actually happened. In this particular case, I missed a move from 1666 all the way down, and after hours we're trading at 1652. So that's a 14-point move I left on the table. Even with a quarter position, that would have been a lot of money to me. So I'll mark it down. I'll go into a emotional journal that I keep about the emotions that I have and what I was going through at the time. And already when I wrote my journal today, I know it was bothering me. The market was grinding really slowly. NQ was near a high. It just felt like we could burst at any moment. And that's the trick of the slow market, is it makes you hang on and wait so long that your mind starts entertaining these what-if scenarios. And it can get quite scary. So long story short, to summarize the day, we opened in the white zone. Buyers had control. They clearly established control right here. We guided up to the 1665, 1667. That's the adjusted zone. We went right to the back of the zone. Taking the middle of that zone at 1666 was a beautiful setup. And then at the end of the day, we got a bit of news on Syria, and it really shook the markets out. It's continuing to shake the markets out in after hours. And once we got below this white zone, okay, when you see a big fat candle like this and we're below the white zone, and taking the contra trade on that is hard. This is a hard flush, and now sellers have control. And I really want to see them work back up through this white zone before I'm getting too excited about being bullish, or I want to see them get all the way down to initial support. And this evening we bounced right out of initial support, and there were 2 points available out of initial support and after hours, but it's not exactly looking strong at this point. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. Excuse me. I certainly hope this was helpful to some of the traders out there in terms of how I'm thinking and how I make adjustments while I'm trading. If you have any questions, you can reach me at tradeandperform@gmail.com. You can send me a direct message on StockTwits, or you can reach out to me via Twitter. I hope everyone made money today and took care of themselves and kept themselves safe. Y'all have a great night. Should be exciting tomorrow. We shall see. Good night.